All right, it is time to look at the top 5 high school huddle rankings for each class from Class A all the way up to 6A. And we begin with Class A. And guys, guess what?
Nothing's
changes.
changed. Yep, no, nothing's changed.
Well, and I think that, Ringling, I think, is firmly in that number 1 slot in A. And Tonkawa Gore, those two are real close. I mean, those could be interchangeable.
Yeah.
I think we've got a little edge, obviously, to Tonkawa, but
I got Gore too, yep.
Yeah, and then Fairview and Hominy are right there as well. So, and the truth is, there could be somebody at 6 or 7 that ends up being in the state championship game as well. I mean, A-ball is very deep.
Yeah, for our podcast listeners out there, number 1, Ringling, number 2, Tonkawa, number 3, Gore, number 4, Fairview, and number 5, Hominy. Did I mention High School Huddle is now on the iHeart Radio app?
Yes, last segment.
All right.
It's a little dark right there. What's
It is
going
on
on
there. I don't know, Phil.
Why is that so dark?
All right, we now move on to Class 2A rankings, and we do have a little bit of a change.
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit of a change. Number 1, Washington. Number 2, Rejoice Christian. Number 3, Vian. Number 4, Eufaula. And number 4, Millwood. Number 5, Eufaula.
Yeah. I had that a little different.
Mine's a different too, yep.
My Fighting Rafe Watkins team didn't make it.
Yeah, Prague, 55-6 victory over Roland. That was a hefty drive for the Devils.
Prague should be in the top 5. Well, I'm just, hear me now, believe me later.
The schedule is.
That's fine. I'll bet you right now, a soda pop that they'll be in the semis.
In the semis?
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I'll take that.
Yeah.
You want that back?
Extra ice, please.
Yes.
Extra ice?
I want crushed ice.
Crushed ice. Sonic ice?
In fact, I'm not saying Prague will probably go 10-0.
They will. Yeah, A-ball and 2A, man, there's a lot of good football teams that won't get out of the first round of the playoffs.
There's a lot of teams spread out.
Yeah, but there's a lot of really good football teams will not get out of the first round of the playoffs. I think.
I think they'll be okay.
Well, yeah, but I think they'll make the semis.
Okay. All right.
So we got 2 wagers on that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I want it on tape.
It's not
It's
tape
not
anymore.
tape.
Yeah.
Oh, I want it on whatever this is.
It's all digital now.
Whatever this is, I want it on that.
Yeah. I mean, we can put it on VHS tape for you if that's what you prefer.
A lot of my favorite things are on VHS.
Real. Oh, boy. All right. Moving on to Class 3A rankings, according to the High School Huddle. Number 1, Lincoln. Well, that can't be right.
Well, why not?
That can't be
Who
right.
put these in? The boss.
Yeah.
Let me.
Production. Let me write this back down.
Oh boy,
You had one job.
yeah. We can't look at
one
that.
job.
We can't. Well, no, it's right on my screen here, but not on this screen.
Oh, well.
All right. Well, we can't look at that screen.
Oh.
It didn't refresh for whatever reason. Okay, number 1 team in Class 3A, Lincoln Christian. The new number 2 team, Metro Christian.
Yep.
Number 3, Heritage Hall. Number 4, Cassia Hall. Number 5, Stigler.
Soul Public
You
School.
got him in there.
Got him in there.
Got
The
him
Soul
in there.
Public
Stigler in
School.
there.
Oh, yeah.
We needed him. 3A is so heavily dominated by private schools.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So I still have Verdigris at number 5.
Yeah.
In my individual poll here.
And they could easily be there.
Yeah.
I mean, and then that's a big matchup we're talking about here in a little bit between so I just went blank. Rejoice Christian and Verdigris coming up this week.
Yeah. Cassia Hall.
Cassia Hall.
I'm sorry, Cassia Hall and
Hall,
Verdigris.
yeah.
Yeah, Cassia Hall.
So those are the 3A rankings. Moving over to Class 4A, number 1, Cushing.
Is that right?
They are solidified number 1, unanimous number 1. I think they're unanimous, hopefully for every poll out there.
Yeah,
of
it
course,
should
it's
be.
the most important one, the High School Huddle poll. But number 2, Poto. Number 3, Elk City, their highest ranking this year. Bethany at number 4.
Ronnie likes that one.
Bethany at number 4, and Blanchard at number 5 with the victory over Tuttle, 30-28. Tuttle now outside of the top 5 in Class 4A.
Yeah. Ronnie, thoughts?
There's nothing wrong with that. I mean,
No.
it's not what I have, but
That's exactly how I have mine.
That's exactly how.
That's a
where
good huddle.
Where do you have Bethany?
Bethany, I have Bethany. Oh, 6.
6.
Yeah.
Who do you think should be in the top 5 that's not in there?
Oh, my top 5. My top 5 is Cushing, Poto, Elk City, Blanchard, and Tuttle.
Tuttle. Yep. You can argue that.
Yeah.
Well, they
Absolutely.
had missing. McAdoo was missing last week.
Yeah,
Got to get things considered.
No, you absolutely. I mean, it's still an L, but yeah.
All right. We now move to Class 5A rankings here on the High School Huddle, and we have a new number one. Who is it? It is the Coweta Tigers. Mcallister goes down for the first time this year to Coweta. Coweta bumps up 2 spots from number 3 to number 1. Number 1, Coweta. Number 2, McGinnis. Number 3, Mcallister. Number 4, Del City. Guthrie at number 5. Despite the loss to McGinnis, Guthrie stays in that number 5 spot. We have a lot to discuss here. Guys, first off, why Coweta 1, McGinnis 2? McGinnis was 2, but Coweta leapfrogs them.
Well, I think you look at the quality of wins they've had this year. You know, they just beat the brakes off of Carl Albert early in the season. They've beat a good Wagner team.
Yep.
And then they go in and just take them to the woodshed, Mcallister.
Clobber them, yeah.
I mean, you know, even with McCarty out, you got to believe that, I mean, it should still be a closer ball game.
Yeah.
Right. So to me, they've earned that number 1 spot. I've had McGinnis, and I think we all have had McGinnis for some time at number 2.
Firmly 2 all year long.
Firmly at number 2. They come in on the road and win a last-second kick, win a ball game off the last week, number 5 Blue Jays, to stay undefeated. Mcallister beat Del City heads up. So
that has to mean something.
Has to mean something. We saw that game with our own eyes.
Yep.
Live and in person, down on the sidelines. Spent the first half with Del City, the second half with Mcallister. That was a fun night. And Del City, who's I think has more individual talent than anybody in 5A. They're at 4, and we still have the Blue Jays at 5. I think it's, you can make, I guess there's people who can say, well, what about Collinsville, defending state champions, 6-0? Some people are going to talk about Grove. Some people are going to talk about Carl Albert. So, I mean, there's Elgin in there, still undefeated. So there's a lot of really good teams. 5A is one of the deepest classifications this year, and it hasn't been that way for quite some time. There's been 3 or 4 really good teams most years, and then a pretty steep drop-off after that. But
and then when you look at that top 5, it's all 5A2 and all 5A3 schools in the top 5 rankings. So I went back and forth. I for everything you said, Coweta, I had number 1. McGinnis, a good ball club, I had them at number 2. And this is a reminder that 6'7", 5'6", can beat any of the teams on these teams, especially if McCarty's not good as Mcallister. You see McCarty, if McCarty's not part of the equation for Mcallister, they're not in the top 5.
No,
he has to be 100%.
They're a 7-8 team in 5A without him. Absolutely. I mean, they just are.
They lost a quarterback a year ago, the receivers, and they still got some good players around him, but he is a huge part of their top 5 ranking.
Which, to be frank, is part of the reason why our the Blue Jays are still number 5 this week is, remember, they're playing – last week was the 3rd game, the 4th week, because they had a bye week in there, but the 3rd game without returning 1,600-yard rusher, Mr. Everything, Isaiah Hammonds. I mean, so they're doing that without their best football player.
So here's how I broke down my 5A rankings. And I was like, well, Mcallister, if Eric McCarty doesn't play, they're really not they're not a top 5 team,
right.
But McAllister's schedule will allow him to get healthy, and then when he's healthy in the playoffs, I think they're a number 3 team. Yeah. They beat Del City, as Ronnie said. That means something. You got to have McAllister over Del City. So then it comes down to Guthrie, Collinsville, Elgin, Grove, and Carl Albert. And when you look at Mcallister, they beat Del City. So Del City, though, they beat Choctaw, and they beat Booker T. Washington.
Yeah.
I mean, that says, Guthrie, they beat Tuttle, lost to number 2 McGinnis with no time left on the clock. Yeah. And then you look at the other ones, Collinsville, the defending state champions, and I feel bad for they're undefeated.
We got to look at schedule.
Their best win this year is against a 3-3 Oologah team.
Correct.
Sky took 2 victories. Pryor 1 victory. Bishop Kelly 2 victories. Tulsa, Nathan Hill, 0 victories. Bartlesville, 2 victories. That was a 6A2 victory there. Grove, the best win is over a 3-3 Class 4A Wagner.
Yeah.
And so, you just got to look at that and consider all those. There's so much things. And
a lot of variables.
Just a lot of variables to it. So, Grove, the other team is Elgin that you got to look at now. They're 6-0, 3-0 in district play.
Same deal, though, schedule.
Yeah, beat Anadarko, beat Cash, beat Weatherford, beat El Reno, beat Ardmore. And the thing about Elgin is they've given up 24 points all season, 32 points all season. They have 3 shutouts this year. Yeah. Now, Elgin, they got Noble, Duncan, MacArthur, Midwest City to finish out the regular season.
Well, I mean,
so we'll see.
I mean, there's a real. What was the last two? Noble, Duncan, who else?
MacArthur, Midwest City.
I mean, they could lose the last two, or they could split, or they could win both. Obviously, are the options. I would look for them to drop one of those games, if not both.
We'll see. Week 9 and Week 10 of the high school football season. All right. Time to do the Class 6A2 High School Huddle rankings. Number 1 and remains there, solidified number 1. Number 1, Stillwater. Number 2, Choctaw. Number 3, Muskogee. Number 4, Deer Creek. Number 5, Sand Springs. And we forgot to mention that game earlier in our earlier segment with Choctaw taking down Deer Creek in a good game last week. And really, Choctaw dominated that game for the most part as they went at 28-16. So obviously, you have discussion points here with 2, 3, 4.
Well, you got discussion points with 2, 3, 4. I mean,
5 and 6.
I was real close putting 3 Muskogee at 2 in 5A. I think there's an argument for that.
I did.
You know, Choctaw. Yep. And Choctaw. Listen, we've seen a lot of Choctaw over the last couple of years, and you say, well, why is that relevant? Well, it's relevant because the last 2 years is the same guy that's starting a quarterback for him this year. Akron commit. I just went blank. Still Wassel. Big kid, athletic kid, strong arm, but they are going to go as he goes. I mean, he offensively, he's the guy. I mean, he just is.
Side note, if you're Brent Venables, do you offer somebody like Still Wassel? And if you're Still Wassel as a preferred walk-on, do you go to tell you as a preferred walk-in, or you take that scholarship to Akron?
I go straight to Akron.
Yeah. Okay. School's expensive.
Regardless of, you know, where are you currently. If Chris is going to get mad if he sees you sitting on that cord. Okay.
Quarterbacks are what's yours? You'd be muted the entire time.
So well, that might work out for everybody, but no, but I mean, you go straight to Akron. I mean, but he's the wild card. Deer Creek, listen, they lost a game. It's so hard to go undefeated. I don't care what classification of ball you're playing. You know, don't count Deer Creek out. I mean, I think the top 4 teams, any of them could be in the state championship game. I do think Stillwater has separated themselves just a smidge as what's got to be the favorite in 6A2. Mm-hmm. In Sand Springs, I caught a little grief. They're a three-loss team. Well, yeah, who'd they lose to, Chris?
I can pull that up here.
I mean, it's brutal who they lost to. Bixby.
I'm getting there, I promise. I'm trying to figure out.
Muskogee, and was it Deer? No, they haven't played Deer Creek yet, have they? Mm-mm. Here we go. Coming up
right about now. Sand Springs, they have lost to Bixby.
Yep.
They have lost Muskogee.
Yep.
And they've lost to Stillwater.
Yeah. Excuse me for having 3 losses. I mean, Sand Springs is a good football team. They're a very good football team, but I'm telling you, that's about as tough of a schedule played at any classification as you'd see thus far through the season.
The other option you would have at number 5 instead of Sand Springs could be a Lawton team who is 5-1 on the season. Their best victory would be Lawton MacArthur, 51-26.
Yeah, and their bad loss would be to Ponca City.
Yeah, their only loss.
So you can't discount that, can you, Ronnie?
I mean, those losses Sand Springs had, they weren't competitive. I mean,
okay,
they were blown out.
You tell yourself whatever you need to.
I mean, you still got to win on the ball field.
Okay.
I get it, but
you got any more coach talk, or can we move on? Okay, we can move on, Chris.
All right, those are the 6A2 rankings, and we have a little shift in 6A1 rankings, but not what Phil wants it to be.
You guys are both. I'm just going to say, you're both idiots. You're idiots.
The High School Huddle Top 5, number 1 team in 6A1 remains the Union Red Hawks. Phil will discuss here in a second if he needs to go any further. Number 2, those Bixby Spartans going for a 56-game win streak.
Yeah, but they're second.
Mustang number 3, Norman North 4, and number 5, Jinx. Norman North with the victory over Jinx. And so
I wanted to put somebody else at 5.
Jinx falls to 3-5, but who would that be?
Well, that's just it. It falls off hard. I mean, it falls off hard. But just humor me. How can you guys not have Bixby number 1 right now? Honestly, we have fun with this. We joke, but everybody I talk to that follows the show, that is the consensus. How is Bixby not number 1?
Well, if Jinx doesn't mess things up, or who's Bixby play this week?
It doesn't matter. Okay, it's Broken Arrow.
Okay. If Jinx and Broken Arrow doesn't mess it up, we will have possibly a Union Bixby state championship game. Everything's got to stay on par for that to happen. Bixby's best victory this year was Owasso, first game of the season.
Okay. How about Union's best victory?
Oh, I'm glad you asked, Phil.
Can't wait to see this.
Union's best victory, outside of Owasso, a common opponent there, Jinx Broken Arrow.
Well, those are two powerhouses.
Well, I think
right
Union's
now.
get a little smooth.
Jinx is a powerhouse.
Didn't Bixby go into Arkansas and beat a pretty good football team?
I don't know how good they
Oh,
are. But
well,
No,
we can Google it.
Harbor is not any good. They lost.
Yeah,
to,
they're not any good.
They
We'll
lost.
Google it.
They lost to another
Booker T.
Oklahoma
Washington.
team. Yeah,
We'll Google it.
I'm telling you.
Yeah,
Oh,
Don't need to
Harbor
Google.
beat.
telling me now.
We've done our homework.
Oh, you
DJ McKinney runs the ball. Shaker throws the ball.
Uh-huh.
I think when it gets on the field, I think Union's number one. I can't go off a 6'2" Bixby. I'm going off a 6'1" Bixby.
We'll go off the 6'2" Bixby that kicked both those teams' butts when they were playing them last year.
Did Bixby Union play last year?
I know they played Jinx.
Oh, I know they played Jinx. But
And who won?
the two-time defending state
And who won
champions in
state
Jinx.
last year in 6A?
Jinx.
That's right. Who beat who?
Union.
Union.
Hey, man, who got 85 transfers in this year?
It doesn't matter. He's
It
not
don't
playing.
matter.
It don't matter. He's not playing. Hell, he's liable to be in California playing by week 10.
Oh, no. He's here for the rest of December at least.
I'm disgusted with both of you.
All right. So
What do you got to do to get some respect out of you two? A 56-game winning streak.
They're going for 56.
Playing Broken Arrow this week. A 56-game winning streak. And you guys have them at 2.
Well,
And what drives me even more crazy, Ronnie picked them to win state.
I did.
Bixby?
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, it infuriates me.
Nobody's allowed to have opinion but Phil.
Well, you're supposed to have a good opinion if you have one.
I picked him to win state.
A
Phil.
little poll for those that watching that follow the show. Who should be number one in 6A1? Bixby or Union? This will be unanimous.